Hi, welcome to yet another episode of Data UX with Uburuke and Julius. So today episode we're going to be talking about data-driven UX. So if you look at it, what is really data-driven UX? You can say data is everywhere, and recently we have huge amount of data, and the problem is people don't know how to analyze this data, especially, the saying that goes, anything you do is as good as the data you use to do it. So data really affects the output of whatever you're doing. For instance, let's say you're doing a usability test, and like they say, a usability test is task driven. So your task is as good as the usability test. If you use like not too good tags, you won't achieve much. It's just like a saying, like if you use a better tax to test a product,
Yeah.
you get a good result. So data is everywhere. The problem is, how do you use that data? How do you create a good user experience with the data you have and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, huge volume of data being created in the recent past, and one of the challenges which a lot of business organizations face is understanding the data,
Yeah,
driving insight or use, or maybe making data or finding sense in the data they've
yeah,
collected.
yeah,
When it comes to data-driven user experience, is you've a business has to rely on data to understand their customers.
yeah,
And I think that's where we've got to focus more on what is it that we need to deliver to the customers that actually meets their needs,
yeah,
and how data can help us to understand the change of user needs over time, so that we can be able to now say whatever decision we are making has to be impacted by the data we've collected,
yeah,
and should reflect what the users are looking for.
yeah.
So when you're designing, maybe let's say a web application, a website, or a mobile app, you have to rely on this data for you to be able to make decisions,
Yeah,
and as well as even drive a problem statement in terms of what is it that you're trying to improve in terms of your content structure or your navigation or the user journey within the website. So that data will help you to be able to design a product that actually meets that user expectations.
yeah. I think what a lot of user researchers do is they actually pay attention to this data. They use the data to design this product, and at the end they get a good product. Yeah, it's user friendly, it's targeted the audience and things like that. But at the end of the day, after you've designed that product, what next? As a business owner, you have all this data coming in and you don't know how to analyze it.
Absolutely.
I think that's a problem, because when you assign these tasks to a developer or a user researcher, a user experience expert, they do a good job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when the business is yours, actually they'll train you on how to do one and two. But when your data is coming, and actually you might be able to capture a lot of data, just like you said, it's difficult to make sense out of all those data.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's like there should be a way to balance it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing you need to look into is having so much data probably might not be a good business sense, because
Right.
you stockpile of data, maybe most of the time could be historical data.
Yeah,
And this historical data can only tell you the past,
yeah,
but actually it doesn't explore and it doesn't highlight anything that's currently
Yeah.
happening, and probably predict what's likely to happen. And for you to understand that, that's where you have to be on top of the data you collect, be it historical data, be it real-time data coming in. And that's the only way you can be able to understand how these customers have maybe their
Interacting
needs
with your
have
products.
changed over time.
Yeah,
What is it that they want now they didn't, maybe were not looking for in the past, maybe a couple months?
yeah,
And how is it likely that these, whatever they're looking for now, is likely to change in the next couple months?
yeah.
So that's where now we have to make sure that we have to derive that data,
Mm-hmm.
analyze the data, and ensure that it's more of a cycle for us to be able to learn the data as we get in and be able to be on top of how the change of user needs over time impact the design we have of the product or the service, and how can we be able to accommodate both what the customers are looking for and what the data is telling us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in big shops like Tesco and the likes, they are really implementing. I think they're using the data because they are, when you go to their shop, it's user driven.
Yeah.
For instance, the cost of living is really is horrendous now. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people are struggling. Now, when you go to these shops, they have options.
Yeah.
You might go there like 3 months back, or let's say 6 months ago. Some options are not there, but now you see those options.
Yeah.
You see these big brands that are really implementing data. But what about small businesses?
Yeah, I think again, I think what we said last in the past episode is that the small business have these maybe it's more like a fear that, oh well, we can't afford for us to be able to analyze the data because
Yeah.
maybe could be down to skill set, could be down to tools they need to use for them to analyze the data.
Yeah.
And again, could be interpreting the results in terms of what has been analyzed, because you might get data in Excel sheet and you come up with a very good pivot tables or maybe use other visualization tools, but it only shows you the numbers.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you what action
Yeah.
that you need to take. So there's no insight that's been derived from those visualizations that you've done. And again, that also requires some expertise in terms of how you can be able to do like insight analysis.
Yeah.
And understand what is it that we found out from this data and what action that the business needs to take. Small business normally struggle with that because of the capacity they have in terms of skill set and in terms of their budget.
Yeah.
Because all they need is just for them to give me numbers. How many customers did we have in today? We had maybe 10 customers. How much did we make? Maybe £1,000. Full stop. That's
Yeah.
it. They don't know if these customers who have come in now were customers they had before or they're all new customers. And if you see a trend where customers are coming in and entirely maybe 70% are leaving, they don't
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
again. You as a small business, you're really not keen on finding out why those customers didn't come back.
Yeah.
As long as new customers came in today. So you're okay with that because the number is more maintained in terms of
Yeah.
the sale, in terms of sales.
Yeah, the way you analyze it, it makes sense because if you look at it, if you're doing business,
Yeah.
it's not really about getting new customers.
It's about retaining the customer.
retaining
Customer
your
retention
current
is the
customer.
biggest challenge,
Yeah,
especially
because
in
if you have
SMEs.
reoccurring sales,
Yeah.
it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, human psychology, you have this thing that, okay, I'll go to this shop, I always get this item A from this shop.
Yes,
Whenever you think about item A, you want to go to that shop.
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you have reoccurring sales,
Yeah.
it makes more sense.
You have to raise quite a lot of questions. Again, if we transform that into a digital space,
Yeah.
for instance, an e-commerce environment where customers have been coming to your website, and I mean, like you said, I think last time as well, it all depends on how easily the customer can find what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And if they can't find that, they probably
They'll
won't
just
come
leave.
back again.
Alright.
So that user experience, you have to rely on the data you collect from these customers, understand what these customers were looking for. How can I be able to maybe restructure the content or the journey for the customer to be more seamless?
Yeah.
So you've got to look at where did this customer land, where were they coming from,
Mhm.
and what action did they take?
Yeah.
Did
and
they actually-
drop out when
Yeah,
they drop
exactly.
out? Yeah.
Did they actually maybe interact? And if they didn't interact, what happened next?
Yeah.
So that's where now, if we move into again what data you need, how data now impact the user experience, the design as well, is by looking into the qualitative data, the quantitative data.
Yeah.
So quantitative data tells you this initial story. These customers came from a particular source.
Yeah.
They actually landed on my page. They were looking for a particular product. They couldn't find that product, so they exited.
Yeah.
So it's already told you that part of the story. This customer came and they left the website without even converting, or they didn't click through based on whichever CTS, the call to action you have within the website. So the next question now you'll be asking, why did they not interact?
Yeah.
So the quantitative data tells you that part of the story. So you need another qualitative data to stitch up these two stories to make sense.
Yeah.
So then that means you have to go out, probably maybe run a user research or a user survey, or maybe do a feedback form and say, did you actually find what you're looking for? So now the complete story will be you write a complete story based on the quantitative and qualitative data.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, if you look at it from a different perspective, there might be, let's say a business is just starting out.
Yeah.
They don't have a digital space and they're just starting afresh. So creating a good design will really depend on whoever is handling the user experience project.
Absolutely.
Because then you have to do a proper research to make sure that the product you're designing or what you're building is actually intended for a particular audience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's where research really have huge impact, because there now the data is not there.
Yeah.
You have to source for the data, so it's a different ball game when you already have the data.
Yes. And I think without a problem, you don't have a product to develop, because you must have a problem.
Yeah.
What is it that you're trying to solve? And do you have a clear objectives? So the problem statement will help you to be able to maybe develop come up with your own measurement framework and say, for me to be able to achieve X, I must have a problem to solve. Then you start now sourcing data. What data do I need to understand this problem? And understanding the problem, what course of action should I take for me to solve this problem? So data now helps you to be able to formulate that problem and come up with objectives. The business might have a very clear objective and business goal they want to achieve, but they always don't align with what the customers are looking for, and that's why you need data. Once you have that data, then you can be able to tell a story that as much as our business goals are like this, the customers want this from us. So we can be able to design a product that actually is more user driven at the same time powered by data. I think that makes sense, because with data you can easily identify the target audience points. You know what they want. For instance, like the way paperwork, it's just for money, payment and things like that. It's well targeted. So if you're creating a product, a lot of people will go wide. They want to meet a large audience, and that is a problem. It is, because every business can be very ambitious. Because they might have very exorbitant
I think sometimes that over ambitious is what kills a lot of SMEs.
Exactly. Because you raise your target, you forget about your customers. You want to achieve a number of key goals, but actually you forget that all these goals, for them to be achieved, you must involve the customer. Because the end users are now the major players in this particular life cycle, we call it. So, and for you to understand that customer, the baseline is data, nothing else. So, like, based on our discussion, you can see data is very important. No matter what you think about, data is everywhere. The problem is how to make sense of that data and use it to grow business. You can actually get the data, transform it into information, and convert that information into business knowledge to help your business succeed. And to succeed within the digital space, you need data and a good user experience. And that is what this podcast is all about. We hope this short conversation will give you maybe one or two insight on how to go about when you're starting off a business. You need to focus on, like, you want to capture data and you want to create a good user experience. Exactly. I think both of those things are important. So if you want to know more about, like, getting a report, maybe you have a small business and you want to, like, at the end of the day, you want to see what's going on with your website or things like that. I think that is where DataNet comes in. So again, because we work basically getting that data. But the next question everybody's asking, how do we make that possible to understand the customer journey? You need
Right.
analytics to come in. So in the next segment, we'll be discussing about analytics,
Yeah.
how data and analytics help user experience or a more data-driven design.
Yeah,
And
it could be vice versa.
It could be vice versa as well. And what is analytics at the end of the day? People will be asking a question: what do we mean by analytics? How can we be able to work out in terms of what are the key metrics for us to be able to use for us to understand the customer journey?
Yeah.
So basically that will be a whole another segment we'll be discussing about analytics.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes the word analytics sounds so overwhelming. Some people
It is, yeah,
think
yeah.
it's like it's rocket science.
Yeah.
But on our next episode,
Yeah.
we'll try and break it down so
Yeah.
you get a clear picture of what analytics is and how you can use it for your business to succeed.
Absolutely.
So until next time, this is Data UX with Ubuke, and
Yeah, my name is Julius.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll speak to you on the next one.
Right. Thank you.
Bye now.
Yeah.